know what time it is.
It's about
It's
4.
Time to start. Well, I don't have too much planned. I was trying to think today of some tunes that I learned when I was first starting and kind of getting interested. I guess the early 60s is kind of when I started trying to play. And,
Did you grow up in Alabama?
Yeah, I was born in Gadsden, 1953, so figure that out.
You do the math. Huh?
Yeah, you do that. But I was about 10 years old when I got to want to play, 10 or 11, and my dad was a guitar player and played some fiddle. And the first old fiddler I can remember is Monk Daniels. That he was from around Albertville, from Sand Mountain. We lived at Boaz. Yeah, and he played with another guy, Arthur Kirkendall, who was a little bit older than Monk, and he played banjo. He was the only clawhammer banjo player I saw back then in that part of the country. There just wasn't much clawhammer.
There's your answer then. You start out with a couple of tunes you learned from Monk.
Well, I didn't learn any tunes from Monk, really, but he really inspired me to get to playing, you know. My dad played in a band with him. They'd play square dances, and this would have been when I was 8 or 9, you know. I would go with my dad when they would practice, and like a kid that age, you know, there'd be other kids around, you kind of go off playing, but I kind of got to drift to more of the music, you know, and it was Monk that really fascinated me. And they used to go down to Birmingham and play on TV on Sunday morning. And I can remember one time when Monk rode down there in the back seat, and him and another guy played teams all the way down. My dad's driving, and I was in the front seat.
Oh boy.
And boy, after that, I really had to get the fiddle going because my dad had wanted me to play. He got me a little toy fiddle, you know, when I was 2 or 3. I had a little plastic fiddle.
Yeah.
And then he got me I guess a 3/4 size or something when I was probably 6 or 7. And I sawed around on it about a month and just laid it down and never could get anything going at that time. But by the time I was 11, I was trying to play.
Even though you never felt you really
To get
learned anything, you know, it's from the core
Yeah.
within you somewhere. Just
Yeah,
working on that.
I've got some pictures of me when I was, I guess, about 3 years old with that plastic fiddle, and I was holding it up there just like Benny Martin or something. You know, yeah, because bluegrass was big then too, and there used to be a TV show in the 50s from Rome, Georgia, that we used to get, and they said I would play the fiddle, you know, along with them. And Norman Blake was in a band over there at that time. He was a teenager, I guess, playing the mandolin in the group. So just everything I was seeing and hearing, you know, was kind of making me want to play. But I guess one family that I knew that were old fiddlers was the Johnson family, and they played around Sand Mountain for about 50 years. Had a family band. And one tune I associate with them is Merrilla's Lesson. They played that, and I heard the story about one of their brothers. They had 3 brothers that played fiddle, and one of them name was Dan, and my dad always told me he was the best one. And they were playing on the radio and playing Merrilla's Lesson, and he had a stroke during Merrilla's lesson. So they had to stop the program and put on a record or something. And he didn't die right then, but a few months later, you know, he died. He didn't get to play again. But before I ever heard the tune Merrilla's Lesson, I don't know what I thought about that tune. But
how old was he when he died then?
Well, he would have been 60s or near 70 or so. You know.
So, do you play that tune, or
Yeah,
are
that's
you afraid
one.
to play it now?
No. No, after I heard the tune finally, there were a bunch of tapes of their radio programs. And I guess that's where I first heard on the fiddle, but it's no shake note. I'll try to play that for you in a second.
was original source you heard this from, or?
The Johnson family string band.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard about the tune from that story about the guy falling out when he was playing it, but they were fiddle builders, the Johnson family, and they had a fiddle shop. These guys were in their 80s, you know, when I was just a little boy. And you'd go up there and they'd play checkers, you know, was their thing. And you know, they were retired, I guess, from farming, but they'd played on the radio for years, you know, in the 40s and 50s. I think they played in the 20s. They were about the first string band. And that was like Auburn or somewhere. They went down and played on the radio, about the first music like that on the radio in Alabama. But they had square dances and played all around.
Was there a strong African-American influence in the Alabama fiddle?
There probably is further south. Well, there is everywhere, I'm sure, you know. But there weren't many black people where I lived on Sand Mountain, you know. And that's like, well, it was Klan country, you know, in the 50s and all the segregation and everything. I mean, that was the heart of it, you know, where I was raised. And I just wasn't around any black people. They didn't live on Sand Mountain. So, you know, I'm sure it was an influence earlier, but by the time I got there, I never saw a black fiddle player or anything around there, or knew of any. But
Weren't any black folks playing?
there just weren't any black folks around there. They didn't live there. You know, some lived in Gadsden, which was 25 or so miles away. But and there still aren't too many black people. There are more Mexicans than black people around there now.
Yeah.
Still. But now further down in Montgomery, I just went down there the other day, well, to Auburn, and some of those towns there, they're all black, you know, and junked up a few old 78s, you know, on the way down from a black fella. And
Really?
yeah, and I just wanted to ask him, you know. I didn't have time. I was on the way somewhere, but
Got any memories?
yeah. And you know, the same old story. I had a heap of records one time, you know. He still had a little stack of pretty good ones, but you know how that goes. But another family that I got in was the Blaylock family. A lot of people ask me about Mac Blaylock. He was a good friend of mine, and we were at the Johnson Brothers fiddle shop, and they were doing repairs for John Blaylock, and they told my dad that they ought to take me up there and that they played fiddle and stuff. And they were more like Georgia style. They did a lot of skillet licker, kind of Georgia fiddling. And they knew Joe Lee and all those kind of guys that Joe Lee used to play around Mentone at fiddlers conventions and stuff, you know. So they kind of had that influence, and they played some cricket tunes. One that Mac used to play was the Wild Shoat. I was thinking of that today. I'll try to give you that one.
Tell what a show.
Shoat, that's a little pig, I think. Let's see. John's house first, but after we got to knowing him, just after a year or two, John died. He passed away, and I guess in the woods he was deer hunting or something. They were sawmill people. They worked in sawmills and hunted a lot. That's kind of the way they survived. And but John was great, and his wife played banjo, and she was a cousin to bashful brother Oswald, I think, some way. Played with Roy Acuff. And she sang about like he did, you know, just real loud and high out there, you know. That kind of
Did you do
mountain.
that Johnson family boil and cabbage?
Yeah,
play
can
that?
you play that? Or a little
Yeah,
bit?
I don't want to. I could, sure I could, but this is your show.
Well,
You
I
come
don't
here to
know.
hear me play harmonica.
I haven't listened to that cut of theirs, but
Oh, you
I
haven't?
think, well, I have, been a long time, but kind of the way I remember it is, it's kind of big.
D, is that right?
Lord, no, I do all my stuff. I never cross to you now.
Oh, is that standard too?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
those harmonies sound like a costume. Wonderful.
That's what fiddling is to me, is just like a simple melody line and just get an open string ringing with it, or
Mhm.
a double stop, you know, if you can get about three notes kind of ringing, maybe one kind of decaying while the others are coming on.
Wow.
That's,
Certainly works.
well, that's what I like about fiddling. Or that's the way they kind of played, you know. There was a lot of droning stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, the single strings, you know, you go back and forth. You don't do one thing all the time. But I guess I kind of got around bluegrass players too, you know, and that appealed to me because, well, it was something you could play with other people, you know. And like Mac and them, they played things that were kind of crooked, like the Wild Shoat, you know, and I learned some of those to play right along with him, you know, but none of the backup people could really get with them, you know, and it hurt Mac's playing, you know, playing with inferior backing, I think. He was better than his accompanist most of the time, and so that, you know, it's good to try to play with good people, you know, people that can play good and want to play good. And so I got around the bluegrass players, and there was a fellow that lived in Gadsden named Tommy Smith, or Thomas Smith, sometimes people call him Thomas, but I met him about that time, about when I was 10 or so. My dad had known him a little bit from fiddlers conventions, and I can remember going down there to his house before I started playing, and he made us a tape, let us tape some tunes on reel to reel. And he played, well, like Tommy Jackson at that time. That was about the only fiddle albums you could get. And Tommy Smith, though, he was really smooth, really, and he still plays, you know, he's not that much older than me, but seemed like it at the time. He was an adult and had a couple of kids, you know, but he's maybe 10 or 12 years older than me. So he was a big influence, I think, on the way I try to play with the bow and everything, you know. But I haven't seen him in several years. But I know he still plays. But I learned tunes like, let's see, like that tune Rachel we're talking about. I remember that was on that was on that tape that he made, and I learned, you know, I heard people like him play those tunes before I heard them on record. I heard the Tommy Jackson records, so I don't know, my daughter's back here, my Rachel. And I told her to go to the guitar run class, but maybe make her play one, maybe. Can we think of that?
Nice.
Remember Baby Ben, GCND, I think is what that one is. My dad always liked this tune. He'd always get me to play Baby Ben. Let's see. I never heard of them until I was about 20 years old, I bet. I just didn't know about it. And he had a stack of 78s, you know, about like this. A bunch of his records got burned up in a house fire, I believe in '51, before I was born. But I guess these were somewhere else in the barn or somewhere. And they were skillet lickers. They were like the Fiddlers Convention in Georgia. And I listened to those a lot. Had a few John Carson, that kind, but it didn't have anything like North Carolina bands or anything, any Charlie Poole. It hardly ever jumped up one of those down there in Alabama. But I know he had some Jeanettes and things like that. He talked about some Bird Moore records he had, and, you know, it's too bad. It's the way of things. I don't know, in later years, I got to going around contests and I see J.T. Perkins and those kind of players, you know, they were little more modern kind of guys, and some of them, like J.T. Perkins, he was influenced by Howdy Forrester a lot, I think. He played those Howdy Forrester tunes, and that's kind of who I first saw play those. Him and Bill Mitchell, saw him at a Fiddler's Convention. He was from Mississippi. But I didn't try to learn any of those for a long time. I learned a few, like Howdy tunes, but then JT got to be a great contest player. I think he was influenced by Benny Thomas in there in the 70s. He came through, and JT's fiddling really took off on the contest scene. But I don't know, we're up in the northeastern part of Alabama, so it's kind of a Tennessee and Georgia influence too. Is kind of a lot of what I heard growing up, starting off.
Have you played a lot of bands, string bands?
String bands?
Yeah, were you?
Well, I played in bluegrass bands there when I was about, when I was 17, I started playing with Rule Yarbrough and Jake Landers. And that was in about 1971 when I started playing with them. And I moved over there out of high school and lived around Muscle Shoals. I played with them about 2.5 years, I think.
Was this after Rule played with Bill Honeysuckle?
Yeah, after that I got to knowing him when he was playing with Bill. And we'd go to see Kenny Baker, and Kenny helped me a lot. He's the one that's probably been the best, like to slow something down and show me, because like with Mac Blaylock and them, they just play through something, fast and then hand you the fiddle and say, here, do it,
Your turn.
Yeah, and that's the kind of teaching those guys would give you, But Kenny, I got to spend a little time with him when I was about 15, I guess, and he helped me a lot, a whole lot. And being around him and hearing him play, he was really into jamming at that time. It's before he hurt his hand, and I mean, anybody that didn't hear him back then, you just couldn't believe what a tone he could get out of a fiddle. You just, I mean, in a little motel room or something, it would just go through, just unbelievable. Was there a question over there? Thought I saw a hand go up.
James, you wrote the Tombigbee Waltz, or you just played it?
No, I think don't they say that's a gum tree canoe or something? Or, there's words to it and everything. It's just a,
Really? I always had the impression that you wrote.
No. They called me one time. They used that on one of those Ken Burns things. I don't know. It might have been the baseball one or something. But his brother called me and wanted to know if I had written that song, because they got it from Jay Unger and Jay got it from me, I guess. But,
Yeah, I heard Allie Bain play it. I thought he got it.
he got it from me too.
There's a CD with.
Shoot, you said yes, you better.
CD out with,
I know it. I should have rushed to get that copyright.
CD out with Brad and his group. And I believe that's the one, right? And they sing it and the words around it.
John
Oh, yeah. Hartford,
Well,
yes.
well, wait a minute, I think I've heard that, but I never
That's
associated.
pretty recent.
I never associated that with.
I don't know if I've heard Gum Tree
No,
Canoe.
maybe.
But
Did
It's
you
on- it's
play
on
the
that
Tombigbee
CD.
Waltz? just a
yeah,
little bit?
you remember how that goes? That's in G and C. Let's see. I think you'll remember to see.
Tombigbee? It's one word, isn't it?
I think that's an Indian tribe, isn't it? And there's a Tombigbee River in Alabama, and they dug a big canal connecting the Tombigbee River in with the other. There's a lot of rivers in Alabama.
It's just one of those things where when you first hear the name, you think it's the first name of the guy and the last name of the guy.
Oh, yeah, Tom.
Is he anymore?
But in the dark, all.
But I think it's an Indian name, really. Old Indian word. I don't know what it means, though. But I played around in bluegrass bands, you know, and went to Nashville for muscle shows, lived up there 6 or 7 years, and played some around there. And played at Opryland the first year I moved up there. I got a gig at Opryland, and I was about 20 then, I guess. And, got to go to a rush on a trip, you know. All that happened, just a bunch of stuff happened right there, and the old time picking parlor, that scene was going on when I got up there with Tut Taylor and all them, and Norman Blake, and got to know all those guys around there.
What year would that have been?
The end of '73 is when I moved up there, and up to about 80 is when I lived there. But the early '70s there was when it was really good. And I was going up there from when I lived in Alabama too, hanging around in '72, along in there too. And you'd see like Bill Monroe come in or something and just get up and do a little set. And I've got the fiddle that used to hang there in front of the place. It says admission $1. On the back of it, it's got the headstock broke off. It's an old beat up fiddle, but Tut Taylor painted that on there. Admission $1. But Tut was really something at that time, really playing great. And still does, I guess. But, you know, it's just sometimes in a musician, just a certain time of their life, they just really on fire to play, you know, and that's when it's good to hear these guys. You know, they're really good at certain times. But is anything else, any other tunes y'all can think of or that you want to hear?
Stripling Brothers stuff?
Well, some of the, you know, I played about the same 2 or 3 that I know. I had learned a lot off the 78s from Alabama. We played the Kennedy Rag a little bit. Remember how we played that? Got an F part? I keep wanting Dave to play a.
I love that. I might play that one.
Let's play Kennedy Rag.
Yeah, all right.
First fret, yeah. Yeah, their names were Charlie and Ira, same as the Luton brothers. I always thought that was good. Well, Kennedy, Alabama. Mhm.
I'll get back to you.
Yes. And fiddle and harmonica, you know, I heard a lot of that sound around Alabama when I was living down there. We were talking about the Whited brother.
Earl? No? I read it in that recording.
Ralph. Well, there was three of them. One of them might have been Earl, but Tom Jackson knew them real well, and he took me down there. I guess that was in the '80s when I got to knowing Ralph and them, and Mr. Barwick. Mr. Barwick played that tune, Camp Meeting on the 4th of July, that a lot of people play now. You hear that a lot, and I guess that's an Alabama tune there. I don't know, but Ralph made up some good tunes, and we were talking about that Turkey Foot.
Turkey Foot?
Did we play? They didn't play that a while ago.
Well,
We played it before everybody got in here.
I got a harp that's not really a very good tune, so you'll
Well,
have to bear with me.
this fiddle's not in good tune either, so. Nothing's perfect, you know, anyway.
Not a perfect world.
This one just kind of wanders around D a lot, and might be an A sometime, or might just be D.
Can't even find the one that's in bad tune. Here it is. No, it's not in here. I'll find it.
But Ralph said he made up all these tunes when his mother was sick and kind of bedridden there at the last, and taking care of her, and when she'd get settled down, he said he'd write a fiddle tune. That Willow Creek, that's one of his too. But like the Stripling Brothers, a lot of their tunes kind of sound like other tunes to me, you know, and maybe that's why I didn't jump on their stuff a lot. I know I've got 178 of theirs, only Stripling Brothers 78, and it's, I think, Boatman's Delight or something. And it's about the same thing as Old Time Liberty, which everybody played around there. And sometimes, you know, if I already knew the tune that it was like, I wouldn't bother to get their variation. But, you know, I'm getting a little better about doing that, learning different versions of the same thing. You want to play that?
Yeah.
Turkey Foot? This is one of Ralph's
You put
tunes.
the extra 8 at the end?
Try to, yes, see. If I don't, just jump time with me there. It's like kind of fast, I guess. Any more Alabama tunes we can think of? Another one I learned off of a 78 later was that D. Dix Hollis. WhistleBee.
Oh, you
you like
play Whistle- I love
WhistleBee?
that.
I don't know if I play it right. I listen to those things sometimes, just a few times, and then just start playing the thing. And
Well, just go where you
I don't study them like I should. I just play around with them, mess them up. WhistleBee, I think is what he
Whose
calls
tune
it.
was that?
G. Which
One more
one?
time, whose tune was that?
Which one?
WhistleBee? Who-
WhistleBee, D.D. Hollis. Yeah, he was the guy that made some 78s real early for Paramount, maybe in 1925 or 24 or
Really,
whatever.
ways playing stuff.
Real early acoustic recordings, and this was unissued. It didn't make it on the 78. He had 2 or 3, I think, 2. I may be wrong, maybe more, but that were released, and then some that weren't. And so the test pressing survived somehow, but they got around later. They're on a CD of some kind.
Well, the one,
Those document
yeah, the document, yeah.
document CDs, yeah.
Fiddle Music of Alabama, that's what it's called.
Let's see. This is kind of
Got about
tricky.
7 or 8
there.
D.D. Hick-
Let
D-
us just do it. Yeah, D.D. Hollis. He was a doctor, and he was a real old guy when he made those recordings, so he goes back. See if I can play this one. That's it.
I'll hang back and listen. That's just how I play it.
That guy only a few times.
Did you like the Girl Slip Down or Gloria on the Big String? Any of those?
No, I've got to get back and learn some of those. Yeah, his stuff was really great. What was issued by? What were the ones that?
You know, I don't really know. I
We're
just
on
know,
the 70s,
I
yeah.
know the ones on that recording, but I don't remember which ones were actually made into
Yeah.
into the world and which ones didn't. But I'm glad they all did now.
That's
7 or 8 cuts on his on there.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, several.
Yeah, if you can find that CD, I don't know how hard it is to get. It was on Document.
It's still out there.
It's still out.
Yeah, they haven't pulled that one back yet. It's Document. It's
They're
Austrian.
Austrian, yeah.
Johnny Part.
I heard that he had sold his company though to somebody in England, and it was kind of
I hadn't heard that.
weird with that, like he never got paid or something. But his, I think he about issued all the black music, all the gospel and blues stuff.
Pretty comprehensive. He's
But
not
pre-war,
real picky about his
before
sources. He'll
World War
get
II.
some, put some nasty old
Yeah.
7/8 on there. That's
Yeah.
all right. It's all right.
Real
If that's
stuff.
all there is, then,
But he's trying to get the complete.
Does he try and clean them up at least, or not?
you know, it's just not too good to do that, because you always end up cutting some music off of them if you do too much to
Yeah,
them.
yeah, especially a real rough one, you know. But, you know, you get a clean 78, you know, you don't have to do much to it, boy. You get one that's unplayed and really something
They must be
good.
pretty rare about now.
Well, I don't know. You know, things turn up.
They still turn up.
Yeah, a friend of mine got into a radio station in Houston, Mississippi. It turned up some incredible stuff.
They've just been sitting on it, didn't know it was worth anything, or?
No, they knew what,
They
they
knew
knew it was worth
they
something.
knew it was worth
I don't think he had to pay top dollar, but he got a bunch of good stuff. Stuff back to the 30s, to about 1930 and 20s, Lee County Revelers and stuff, you know. So he's going back to get all the later stuff too, I guess.
Speaking of that, you and Carl gonna do another city?
Oh, yeah, there's talk of it, you know, but maybe we can do that sometime, so. But we don't get to play much right now, you know, he's busy doing stuff. We're a long ways
Yeah,
apart.
live a long way.
Yeah, we about have to get a pretty good job to get together now. Or to just drop in on each other. Pick. But it's always fun to play with him. He's a great player. Been playing with Rachel a lot at home, and we got another guitar player we play with, a boy that's about 25, and he's a good singer and everything. So we've been doing some shows. It's a pretty funny trio. We're having fun with that, and getting better. He's more like a country singer and maybe folk kind of guy than a bluegrass singer, or you know, some old time songs, you know, Jimmy Brown and Newsboy and things. So and they're getting good backing up the fiddle tunes, and one capo up the neck or something. So a lot of fiddle and guitar stuff's what I've been playing lately, been used to. Is there any more of those Blaylock tunes or anything you want me to play for you, or anything you want to tell?
What about that tune, Sullivan's Hollow? That one you're familiar
That's a
with?
Mississippi tune. I don't think I could, I'd have to hear the record from.
Trouble is, we don't know the names. If I could take some of those tunes you do at Mentor, and I could listen to any of those.
Uh-huh. You got one?
Honeysuckle Rag.
Honeysuckle Rag, we've been playing that lately. You want to play
Charlie
that
Poole?
for 'em? And,
Charlie Poole, Honeysuckle?
sort of like that, it's Blue Ridge Mountain Entertainers, I think,
Is it
the 78, yeah. We'll play that a little bit, Luke?
No,
You
no,
got to see harmony?
yeah, I do. But we'll
There's a
listen
harmonica
and
on
see.
the 78.
Is
Look
it?
at-
I can play it.
It's well, it's a lot like East Tennessee blues. We've been playing that some. Oh, Honeysuckle Rag, and we've been playing one with it called the Cincinnati Rag that's on the other side of 78, and it's fiddling Clarence Green. It's the fiddler on these records, and I think
What's
that
his name?
Clarence Green.
Oh, Clarence.
I guess Gwen Foster might be playing harmonica
Could
on
be.
those
They
sides.
sound
I think. Yeah, yes, and I think Tom Ashley, Clarence Ashley, I think. We'll play those. You can get right on. Let's see.
We'll give it a try.
Let's see. Cincinnati Rag. Yeah. There's a different Cincinnati Rag, kind of a more modern sounding Cincinnati Rag, but that's
I like that.
from the 20s, I guess. when they recorded that. Well, this is probably enough for y'all. Is it dinner time?
8 minutes, you got that's 2 tunes left.
2 tunes, uh-oh. They-
You gotta play for your dinner.
I know, yeah, that's what I've been doing all week. I'll fiddle for food. I'll think of one more we might could do, let's see. Grandma look at it, well, we played that the other night, I heard that, and I've been teaching it all week.
Chickens Don't Roost.
You ever play Chickens Don't Roost Too High? That's a kind of a raggy one, kind of.
Got some
Goes
extra
around.
stuff in it though, it might be a little hard to.
Well, Leonard kind of added an extra thing on that. I
You
don't
don't
think
play
it's
the
too,
extra?
no. Leonard learned that from me, I think.
Really?
I'd learned it from Mac Blaylock. And Leonard got a tape of it, and I think actually learned it more from me. He'd heard Mac play it too.
Maybe
But it was kind of hard to decipher some of Mac's stuff, you know. But I play it pretty close to the way Mac did it. Leonard's the one that added the little extra. But I think it'd be right there where you are. It's in the key of C, G where you are. So it's just kind of a rag. You got C hard to play it with us. Let's see. Chickens Don't Roost Too High.